be an entity called the United States of Africa. This is the historic solution for the continent. The words of Muammar Gaddafi. Goodluck Jonathan, who is now the president of Nigeria, has now taken the place of Umar Yar'Adua following his death, and the tool of corporate Europe and America is now carrying out what they intended for him to carry out. I speak of Barack Hussein Obama.
Unbelievable reception. As you know, the last president to come to San Juan addressed the people of Puerto Rico was John F. Kennedy.
War for money, war for empire, war. Operation Stop the United States of Africa.
More speculation has been raised on the reasons for NATO's intervention in Libya. And as RT's Laura Emmett reports, the organisation may have been trying to prevent Gaddafi from burying the American buck.
According to some, it's about protecting civilians.
We must not tolerate this regime using military force against its own people.
Others say it's about oil.
The only reason they're interested with Libya is about the oil. You'd think we'd be in Iraq if the major export there was broccoli.
But some are convinced intervention in Libya is all about currency, specifically Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a single African currency made from gold, a true sharing of the wealth.
It's one of these things that you have to plan almost in secret, because as soon as you say you're going to change over from the dollar to something else, you're going to be targeted. There were two conferences on this, one in '96 and another one in the year 2000, called the World Mataba Conference, organized by Gaddafi. And everybody was interested. I think most countries in Africa were keen.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold. The UK has double that, but 10 times the population.
If Gaddafi had an intent to try to reprice his oil or whatever else the country was selling in the global markets and accept something else as a currency, or maybe launch a gold dinar currency, any move such as that would certainly not be welcomed by the power elite today who are responsible for controlling the world's central banks. So yes, that would certainly be something that would cause his immediate dismissal and the need for other reasons to be brought forth for removing him from power.
It's happened before. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announced Iraqi oil would be traded in euros, not dollars. Sanctions and an invasion followed. Some say because the Americans were desperate to prevent OPEC from transferring oil trading in all its member countries to the euro. The UK's gold is kept here in a secure vault somewhere in the depths of the Bank of England. As in most developed countries, there's not enough to go around. But that's not the case in places like Libya and many of the Gulf states. A gold dinar would have given oil-rich African and Middle Eastern countries the power to turn around to their energy-hungry customers and say, sorry, the price has gone up and we want gold. Some say the US and its NATO allies literally couldn't afford to let that happen. Laura Emmett, RT, London.
Terrorists on us? Well, because of what NATO or the NATO countries involved are doing to Libya. So if you don't want to encourage terrorist acts against your country, then maybe you ought not to be flying sorties and bombing the country and trying to take out the leader of the country. It's a big fillip. It's a big catalyst for terrorism, what we're doing. And when people say, well, why do they hate us? Well, you know, if you want to buy the line that they hate our democracy or our freedom, well, you know, I got a bridge up in Manhattan that I'd really like to sell you. It connects Manhattan with Brooklyn, you know. But what they hate is our policy, and our policy is determined first and foremost by our need for oil. Secondly, but a close second, is our felt need to do everything the Israelis tell us to do. And thirdly, to have the permanent military bases, the Fifth Fleet being in Bahrain.
Well, that was my next next question. How is Israel involved in all this from your research?
Well, so far, I think they've been looking on rather helplessly. Usually they're pretty much in command, but things have moved so fast that they have not been able to keep up with it just yet. The bottom line is that this is a disaster. This whole thing is a disaster for Israel, especially the Egypt democracy here.
Well, it reminds me of Bay of Pigs, where you've got Western-backed rebels. We know British SAS in there trying to wrangle them and control them, and sometimes getting arrested because it shows they don't have full control. These are al-Qaeda-funded groups, a lot of them out of Saudi Arabia with Western money. That's admitted that some contingents are. With all of this happening, it's like Bay of Pigs. The rebels are there. They're getting beat. We've got to go in and help them. I mean, isn't that kind of what's happening?
Yeah, the only uncertainty here, and it's a big one, is who are these rebels? Nobody seems to know. And one thing you can bet, you didn't mention Mossad, the Israeli Secret Service. You can bet that they're in there big time and will do what they can to steer things in the right direction as far as their interests are concerned.
Stay there, Ray McGovern. I want to come back in a final segment and ask.
Muammar Gaddafi, the man now ordering troops to fire on his own people, has long tried to cast himself as a glamorous star in his own eccentric movie. As we saw when he first appeared before the cameras yesterday, holding an umbrella, saying he would go to the protesters, but it was raining. He was born the son of a Bedouin nomad and is considered one of the strangest men on the world stage. Here's Martha Raddatz on that.
He was once a young and dashing army captain. Today, he has bottle black hair, a penchant for outlandish apparel, and much ridiculed phobias and proclivities. From the mouths of diplomats in the WikiLeaks cables, he has an intense dislike or fear of upper floors, a fear of flying over water, and he is obsessively dependent on a small core of trusted personnel, especially his longtime Ukrainian nurse Galina, who has been described as a voluptuous blonde. Then there is his legendary crew of all-female bodyguards, a pistol-packing posse of 40 that the tabloids claim are also required to be virgins. In 1989, Gaddafi's antics prompted ABC's Barbara Walters to ask straight away whether he was unstable.
We read that you are mad. You know that those things have been printed. Does it make you angry?
Of course, it irritates me. Nevertheless, I consider or do believe that the majority of the ordinary people in the four corners of the globe do love me because they have different vision from that of the official governments.
But